Mindset Podcast. We're your guide as you make your way through life, getting better 1% every day. We believe that life is lived and true victory won through adversity. Nothing easy is ever worth it. We believe in the...
How's it going?
Good.
Yeah.
I've been gone for a couple of months.
Yeah. You lived in New York for a while.
I was a New Yorker.
You were in New York. I was just in New York.
Yes, you were. I wanted to ask about that, and I
You can ask about it.
was scared. Because the way you put it, I was scared for you, actually.
Oh, okay.
Go show up at this address somewhere. Bro.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was a fourth degree, fourth dan black belt test.
Oh, excellent. Hey.
Stumbled into this. We've been working on it for about 8 months.
Uh-huh.
And this was the final part
Okay.
of an 8-month long.
Did you have an idea when you're going up there that this might be a thing?
No, I had no idea. I mean, I knew it was part of it.
Mm-hmm.
This is part of it. Meet me at this address on this day at this time.
Sure. But you didn't know it was the actual test.
The address is in New York, huh? Yeah.
These get harder. When you go up the ladder.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think in the end, that was part of it, was how far will you go without being like weird. Like, will you kill a man? Like,
Wait, you didn't tell me what you did this weekend.
It was just like, because that's a crazy request, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in perspective with lots of other people, maybe not that crazy, but it is kind of a thing.
Did your sensei do the request?
Yeah.
And it's not a crazy request.
You know us pretty well. We are pretty crazy. We are crazy.
It's not even Brian. It's just more of the. It's the if the person that you look up to within your tradition or whatever you says. Yeah. And you already trust them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, at this point, you have to trust them implicitly.
I do.
But if they say to you, do this thing, there's probably not, you're like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're not gonna ask you to do something that they wouldn't do, or that's out of the question,
or even he would think that you're not prepared for.
Right. So it all works. It all works out in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty cool. It's cool to be in New York again. It had been about 8 or so years since I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
So, streets are still full of garbage.
I was going to ask if you did have to kill a guy.
No, I didn't have to kill a guy.
I'm trying to think of when I was there.
I tried to kill a roach, and the roach fought really hard.
No.
The roach was really hard.
No.
It was tough.
Roaches and rats. Just leave them alone. Just let them go.
It's tough. Like, hey, what are you looking at? I'm just trying to get by.
They have this thing that they do, and you just let them do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd do it again.
Good.
There you go.
All right. It's good.
So I guess that's not really in line with that, but kind of. I found this thing, and I wanted to get responses from you on it. So
I shall respond.
Yeah. How to make people respect you in seconds without acting like a jerk. I mean, it's gonna be hard for you.
Which part of it?
Kidding.
Damn.
So yeah, like we always do, just like concepts. So ditch the fake it till you make it.
Wait. Hold on. Don't even go into the article yet.
Okay.
I think that we need to talk about like maybe baselines.
Ooh.
What do you consider respect?
What do I consider respect?
I mean, there's different levels, obviously, but if the name of the article was or had to do with how to have somebody respect you within seconds.
Yeah.
So to me, the assumption is that this is in a I've never met you situation, potentially.
Could be.
Or like I'm just walking into work for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
I've met you on the street. Maybe it's a relationship about to happen, first date or something, like so baseline. What would we consider respect before we even talk about tactics?
I think for me, I think a good baseline for respect is just having clear empathy for someone, to the point where it doesn't matter their station. It's just those baseline things that you afford someone,
Mhm.
like listening to them, their physical presence, it's just those baseline things. So that's where it would start. And from there, it sort of travels with station, I think.
Mhm.
Right. So you've got like, we're complete strangers. There's a baseline of respect that I'm going to give you in terms of I'm not going to talk over you. I'm not going to push past you. I'm not going to like take shit from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to,
Maslow hierarchy
yeah,
and
I'm
need
going to,
type stuff. Yeah.
I'm going to be polite.
Uh-huh.
I'm not nice, but I'm going to be polite. Yeah. So there's that.
Okay.
So if we're starting from a baseline, that's where I put it. What about you?
Respect is kind of like the empathy part, but
Yeah.
and maybe that goes to a willingness to actually communicate
Mm-hmm.
and listen,
Yeah.
not just talk.
Yeah.
And because I can talk at you all day, you can talk at me all day, and neither of us have heard each other.
Right. I'm not bothering to give you time to try to understand anything you're saying or doing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's disrespectful.
Right. And, I mean,
For sure.
We'll probably get into an example at some point to where, like, if you're walking down the street and somebody asks you for money,
Mm-hmm.
how do you treat them? And not as a are you good or bad or anything? It's like do you still show respect, or basically sometimes I look at it as what's your opening line? If it's, hey, can I have this, versus
Right.
can I talk to you for a moment?
Yeah.
Like I might have actually, a little bit different thought, or
Talking about
if,
a homeless person?
if you have a sales pitch as a homeless person,
It doesn't work.
then you should probably be employed someplace else. But if you have
You're a
a good
homeless person with your shit together.
I've had a couple of
respect
times, and I'm trying to think of where it
I
was,
probably
but
respect that.
but I remember, somebody coming up to me, and I was like, oh God, here it comes. And
Pardon me, sir.
he
I could
totally went
really
a
use
totally
$10.
different way than I thought he was going to. I was like, that's pretty good.
What the hell?
And
Yeah.
and I look at that. Okay, I'm ready for somebody to say that I'm an idiot here. I'm used to it, but like as far as I'm concerned, like he did a job, and he
Sure.
performed something that was
His job is begging.
His job is begging, but if it's but if it's their showmanship or showpersonship within there, I guess that's
entertain me.
if there's
man.
if you entertain me, like, well, I mean, did you go to Times Square while you were there?
Yeah.
Okay, and all the freaking Elmos and Minnie Mouses that
take a picture of me.
Yeah, and then you pay me.
Yeah.
Like, well,
yeah. I know.
I mean, there's an entertainment aspect there.
There is, for
that
sure.
They're thinking that they have. Anyway,
yeah, I get you there.
But so sorry, we went down a road.
Hey.
I wasn't intending on going, but as far as like respect, like I'm willing. What I'm going back to is the communication.
Yeah.
Like when there's a give me.
Yeah.
No matter who that person, maybe it's not a homeless person. Maybe it's a colleague.
Of course.
I won't say anything further on that. Maybe it is,
for sure,
a spouse, a kid, a friend, that friend that asks you for everything constantly.
Yeah.
Like, or it is somebody literally, off the street, walking in, whatever it happens to be, first time you've ever met them, and they start with "give me" instead of that willingness to communicate and maybe even negotiate. That's where I get to the that's where I understand respect is willingness to
I can see that.
Actually have a conversation.
Interesting. I usually just kick them right in the face.
I know.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't do that.
Sometimes you have to.
Well, you have a very interesting homeless guy story about. Remember when we were jogging and you touched one and he freaked out. I was like, "Don't touch the homeless guys."
Oh, I thought he was cheering us
Yeah,
on.
he was not your friend.
No. I think the other guy was.
There's the personal space part of
They-
respect.
That's true. There's a whole bunch of different. Okay, so baselines. There are a whole bunch of different ways to respect somebody,
Yeah.
and sometimes not trying to give them,
Yeah.
a pat on the shoulder, like,
Right.
"Hey, man."
So how do you
relax.
pull respect out of other people,
Mhm.
or do you expect respect as a baseline?
Well,
Like
I-
when you walk
I-
in the room, do you expect people to listen? I mean, this is not a character question.
Yeah.
It's just a respect question.
um,
How do you pull respect out of people?
whether it's there's so many first time, like somebody who is a barista. Like there's all these first interactions,
Yeah.
only interactions in life, versus, with people that you already, are around.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah, I do expect when
Yeah.
I walk into a room that, that there is a first premise of respect that comes from open communication.
Mm-hmm.
And if I go in there and I don't receive it, then, I
Yeah.
and then I respond.
Right.
And my response is not always the best in the world, because my expectation has not been met.
Yeah.
And
Right.
and so that's why I'm saying, okay, let's say you have a server, at a restaurant. And
My brain went to computer server, but
okay,
sure. Server and restaurant, yes. I
that
was like, why do I respect software and hardware?
well, you should,
Okay.
because they're going to take over. But if the one-time interaction that you have with a server at a restaurant,
Yeah.
and if my biggest thing is, the minute I hear a server say no problem, I
Mm.
am fucking done.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Like no respect?
it drops considerably.
When they say no problem?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Hey, thank you for getting me that. No problem. I'm glad it was not a problem for you to do your job.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Maybe,
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting.
I said that to some
Oh, yeah.
parents when I was up in New York.
Yeah.
And they looked at it and like, oh yeah. And then like for the next week, like,
Well,
they noticed that they kept saying it, and
but
they're like, oh,
it often those types of little communications often mean the opposite. Like you say, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Or I wasn't even thinking about that. It's like, I was fucking obsessing about that.
Exactly.
Fuck you.
Exactly.
Like
Right. But if I have a server that oh yeah, when I was in New York,
Yeah.
this was the basis of that conversation.
Huh.
We were at this place right across from Lincoln Center, and I think it's Rosa's or something, and it is this very expensive Mexican restaurant that's really, really good. And I've gone there a bunch of times with my daughter and other people. And so we're there, and like the server, he comes out and takes her order and everything, and and brings out the water or whatever. And I'm like, thank you. He's like, of course. And I stopped. I'm like, no, seriously, thank you. Thank you for not saying no problem. And the funny thing was, he just learned English 3 years before that, and he was like, I'm still trying to perfect it and everything. And I told him, I was like, okay, here's my idiot thing about like, I hate when somebody says it. And he's like, yeah. And then the other parents were like, oh. And but it was when he said of course, it was like, that's the open communication. And
Right.
and maybe I have too high expectations, especially after owning restaurants and things like that, and being a server for many years. But it goes back to like, what's my expectation level? My expectation level is that you're gonna have open conversation with me, and
right.
that soon as you go here, and maybe the no problem is, maybe I'm just a jerk, but as soon as you act
Well, that's
like,
part of the thing.
if I am giving you money and
Right.
you act to me like you don't care,
Right.
then
Yeah. Well,
I stop caring as well.
right.
If I
Right.
come in and I thank you and you say of course, or
Well, you're very welcome. Yeah.
yeah, or it started, I think, with Ritz Carlton, when they say my pleasure, and then Disney does it, and
Chick-fil-A does it.
yeah, Chick-fil-A does it, but
I'm pretty sure they beat them in the back storeroom if they don't say it in Chick-fil-A.
I I have been there when they don't do it, and
Well, I
and
said
my expectation was like,
one time somebody
didn't you
did,
say
and
it?
they didn't say it, and I was like, "Oh, you didn't say it," and they were like, "Oh, I did say it. I'm so sorry." I was
Mhm.
like, "Did I just get you in trouble?"
right.
And he looked at me like,
Now you
they're
lied."
always listening.
Exactly.
I was like, "It's cool, dude." He's like, "All right."
But that's my expectation when I go to
Yeah,
Chick-fil-A. That's my
right.
expectation, the very few times I've been to the Ritz-Carlton. That like that they act like that because it's part of what they do in order to, to enhance your experience. So, should I expect that with somebody who is, I'm not paying them money?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so because it's not a, you're doing something for me.
Yeah.
It's, again, we should be able to converse and I should be able to listen to you as well. Like,
Well, if you're trying to engineer respect
Mhm.
as well as part of your interaction, then yeah, that's a great tip on ways to do it or don't.
Right. But then there's the if I go in there and my expectation is not I stay at a medium,
Hmm.
right? But if my expectation is like way up here and it's like you will listen to me
Hmm.
because I'm the shit.
Well,
And
yeah, right.
then there's a whole nother but
Yeah.
that's not how my expectations usually
Right,
work.
right.
Um, you
That's the
know,
being a jerk part.
yeah. I mean I still remember,
That's a go ahead.
going through a roundabout in New Hampshire when I was just learning how to drive and I get there and I have the right of way and I'm starting to go and this car my mom's freaking out because the car is going to hit us and I actually said you yield to me.
Ooh.
Yeah, and to not to my mom.
No, I know.
To the other car who cannot hear me, but it was like, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
Even though I was in the right,
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong. And so if I'm trying to, that's what I think of as when you say engineering respect,
Yeah.
as like, I just expect you to, bow down to me.
Yeah.
And that ain't too good.
No, that's not a good place to be.
No, but you also the final thing I think is like you shouldn't go in and just be submissive
Of course not.
and just expect everybody to shit on you.
Yeah.
Like you should expect a certain level of respect anywhere you go.
Yeah. That baseline at least should be shared.
Right.
And anything from there you have to earn.
Right. But
That's the
then
way I look at it.
but then you also have to give it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you you ever walk by somebody that you never seen in your life, you're like, what's up?
Yeah.
To me, like that is one of the best things
Yeah.
that I never hear anybody talk about and haven't for 50 years
Yeah.
is just I do that like
Yeah.
well I don't get out it seems like much but when I'm out like doesn't matter who it is
Yeah.
it's usually a guy
Yeah, I
honestly
was gonna say I think that's specifically a dude thing.
yeah
But
but like just a
yeah, the old nod.
yeah and when they do it back I feel like two people walk away without ever really really truly interacting just going oh, good day.
It's a deep level.
Yeah.
Deep level interaction with
Yeah.
just a
And
yeah.
done that all over the world
Yeah.
and people seem to get it and then people respond to it and then then I've seen it like
There's probably some like history there in terms of like ancient communication or
Yeah.
something going on. Yeah. There's also like earning respect and then commanding respect, right? So you can sort of like get respect from people out of fear.
Yeah. That's the command.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Or you can just like be rewarded with it by your actions.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not from imposing it on people, but by just gaining it, by whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's
at a concert Saturday night. Yeah. And when I finally got let into the line when I was trying to leave, like we were at the back, every row that came through, I made sure that I let somebody in.
Yeah.
And you know what I saw the person in front of me doing after I did that? They let somebody in on the next row.
Yeah.
And they kept doing that all the way through. We all got out of there in like 10 minutes as
Right.
opposed to,
If you just do it,
3 rows never
Yeah.
be able to get out.
Right.
And so, just having
Yeah.
that consciousness.
Teamwork makes the dream work. I hate that saying, by the way. Okay.
Okay, so I
that a
did
good
want to,
baseline? No, it's
have a
good.
baseline before we even look at what
I dig
somebody
it.
else
I
wrote,
dig it, man.
because maybe I don't respect their decisions.
You might not.
Yeah.
You very well may not. I have no idea who this person is who wrote this article.
I'm sure they're very
I'm
nice.
not even going to look it up. It's very disrespectful. All right. So, how to make people respect you in seconds. Sounds like how to win people and influence enemies, or what is the name of that book?
Just gonna let you go.
Yeah, I don't know. Without acting like a jerk. All right. So, ditch the fake it till you make it facade. I'm not, like I said, I'm not even going to read in like the article about what that means. I just want to.
Ditch the
What's
fake
the
it.
first thing that comes to your mind there? So, I think about like that whole like faking confidence,
Mm-hmm.
because it like falls apart whenever it's put under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Is this the what is the hashtag?
because I don't operate under the fake it till you make it thing. Like if I'm interacting with a client and they ask me a question
Mhm.
and I don't know, I go, that's a great question. I have no idea what that is.
Let me figure that out.
But I've
and
been
get back
doing
to
this
you.
for 25 years.
Right.
Just give me a minute.
Yeah.
I'll call so and so or whatever.
Right.
And so far in my adult life, which is only a couple of months,
Mhm.
but so far in my
Sure.
adult life, like it seems to work. People seem to respect that versus me making up some bullshit.
Yeah.
And then having to do 2 or 3 hours of work to make my bullshit seem like it was the truth.
Mhm.
I've done that before too, and that doesn't work out too well.
No, it creates more pressure, creates more work, and
Yeah.
creates an expectation.
Yeah.
From the other
And I
party.
don't want an expectation from my clients that I know everything.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I wish I knew everything, but I don't. That's bad.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna ask me to do something that I can't do. I mean,
And you shouldn't.
and I'm gonna be standing in front of them going like, I can't do
Mhm.
that.
Right. Then they won't respect you afterwards.
They'll fire you. But
Yes.
yeah.
It's a form of disrespect.
What comes into your mind?
I guess.
Yeah, I know you've heard it before.
No, I know, and I'm trying to think of.
Make it.
There was definitely.
That's like a whole thing.
Well, coming from an acting background too. When I was a kid, that. I remember one of my best friends from high school. He was a year older than me, and we were talking like a couple of years after high school, and I had, as a theater kid, you have to be on all the time. Like if you've ever met a kid who's like into theater and like they are always on.
Yeah.
And
it's annoying.
And it's annoying, but you don't know how hard it is to be one of those kids.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because you are always on and you can't be off.
Right. You're
because
always
you
working.
always have to respond and keep going and one up and everything. And
one up.
Yeah. That's part of fine arts.
Huh.
You have to one up somebody. Otherwise you are second chair. So
Dokey. I was a visual artist, so
yeah,
didn't work that way there.
Yeah. So, but I was talking to him a couple of years later, and we were talking about a bunch of things, and came up. I was like, I finally figured out that I do not have to be on all the time, and I do not have to be as pompous as I portrayed myself to be, and I don't have to fake it till I make it type thing. And he's like, oh my God, thank God. I mean, I love you, dude. However, and
yeah, we had to talk here.
Yeah. And, it was, but in that particular culture, and then, also playing sports and, like doing all those things, you always felt like you had to keep, faking it, and maybe you'd make it.
Yeah.
And, when it just, finally dawned on me after, 18, 19 years, I was like, oh, now it can be a little more realistic.
Yeah.
And then, then I'm still surprised over like 20 years, after that, the friends that I've made of the people that I already knew that we
Right.
weren't before.
That's cool.
And because you all kind of like, you get out of that, pot, of everybody that's, mixed into this
Yeah.
thing. And you're like, oh, now I can actually be who I am.
Yeah, I don't have to pretend.
Right. And
Yeah,
so the
I mean, it's
the
exhausting.
expectations change. And, I found better respect for other people that I grew up with that I did not have, or they did not have of me, I
Yeah.
hope. Because, just, different situation. So yeah,
Yeah.
I can see it. I can see it there, but I can also see it definitely in business and other things that.
Oh yeah, it's there too.
Yeah.
Be real, man.
Yeah.
Become a Jedi master of active listening. Some of these
Whoever
kinda-
wrote this is an asshole.
I know.
So wait,
So-
what was that again? Become a Jedi master of active listening.
So like, man, when you're talking to somebody, there's nothing worse when you're talking to somebody and they're not listening to you. They are like thinking of whatever they want to get from you or the next thing that they want to talk about. Like you're just filling space until they shut their brain down. You know what I mean?
I am trying not to give examples.
Yeah, I mean that's a sure way for the person on the other end of that to just be like, "Man, screw this dude."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like instant lack of respect for that person.
Yep.
Like it's just I'm not gonna.
You know what
I'm gonna
cures
get
that?
out of this conversation and fuck off.
Right. It can cure that. This
Podcast.
Oh,
for sure. You have to listen.
And not just
Yeah,
being
otherwise
on,
you sound like an idiot.
being on one side of the podcast where you're being interviewed,
Yeah.
but actually
doing the interview.
doing the interview.
Oh, it's so hard.
Oh,
yeah.
Hey, everybody out there.
This is not Deadpool.
Oh, sorry.
I break the fourth wall.
I'm breaking the fourth wall. Fuck you.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's not just that it's hard. It's and I find like when I took like 3 or 4 months off from podcasting, from interviewing people, then getting back into it was
interviews are hard. Yeah.
And because you have to listen.
Yeah.
You have to listen. Otherwise, and
you can't.
The things that we do here, like we can riff off a lot of things because it's based on.
I've known you for a decade. I mean, we can totally do that.
True.
Yeah, it's different.
But when you're interviewing somebody that's like, a developer nerd that I have no idea.
I
Like,
don't know what you're talking about.
what are you talking about?
know.
I'm like, I have no idea. I'm like, dude, I'm the marketing guy.
You're like trying to look shit up
Yeah.
while they're talking.
Yeah. Dear AI. Please tell me, explain to me AI.
The flip side of this, though, earning respect or making people respect you is, I mean, just listening to listen. I mean, listen to them and actively listen in it like that. That's a skill, but also like, yeah, they're gonna love you.
Yeah, exactly.
I try to, I mean, not in every one that I come across, because anybody that you're. Wow, I was gonna sound like a dick there. I won't say that, but generally speaking, I try to like leave a conversation, and I want that person, when I've left that conversation, I want that person to think he listened and he paid attention to what I was saying.
Yeah,
and it made me feel good. Like that's I generally want to leave people with that feeling whenever I interact with them. And it's hard to do.
Yeah,
because sometimes you're like, hey, whatever. And you start talking, you're like, oh God, like. Like I have so much shit to do.
Yeah.
And you're still talking. But I want to leave you with that feeling.
Yeah.
It takes effort.
It does. It does. And that active listening part, because you need to be able to respond intelligently and empathically.
Yeah.
In order for them to leave thinking that you actually listen to them.
And this is going to sound very manipulative, but it's because I may want something out of that person. I mean, that doesn't mean I'm like going to hit you up for $50 later, but I mean, I may want you to like hold the door, pay attention to me, like help me figure out the copy or whatever. I mean, I may have an interaction with you at some point, and I need you to like not ignore me or not think I'm a dick, so you don't help me. You know what I mean? Like whatever that is. So I want to leave you with that good feeling, because I want to build my, again, it sounds manipulative, but I want to build my brand with the humanity. You know what I mean? I want to be a decent human that kind of has gets respect from people. And
Right.
I think just listening to them is one thing you need to do.
Yeah.
But you're talking about with the homeless person example, like think about, like audit your day. Like, did you just blow past somebody at some point? I probably did.
Mhm.
I mean, I think about it. I mean, I don't know. I don't interact. I try not to interact with a bunch of people every day, but
Yeah.
And it is in the gym as well. When I'm coaching, I try to at some, it's a 40-minute workout or whatever, in that class.
Mhm.
I try to at least at every point, at some point during that time, have some sort of, I'm going to say meaningful. It doesn't mean like life-changing, but meaningful interaction where I've connected with someone in that class
Mhm.
to let them know that I know they're here and I want them to have a good day.
Yeah.
Like I got to make that's one of my things,
Mhm.
and I think that pays off in the long run.
Yeah. Those are, a thing. Again, think back to elementary, middle, high school. Like those are the teachers that listen to you.
Yeah, your favorite
And
teachers.
are the ones that actually listened and
and they
were like,
remembered something about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
But you don't want to be that guy. Like I got this one guy that I know. I would call him a friend, but I don't know if he really is or not. Like when I was in, just going to college, I was like an Aerosmith fan,
Mhm.
and that's when he met me.
Mhm.
So I can see him now, like 20 years later, and he'd be like, "Steven Tyler, huh?
Mhm.
Aerosmith?" And
Yeah.
you're like, bro, like you're doing that thing where you're like remembering this one, and you're trying to I can see you doing the thing, and that bugs me.
Just remember, Can't Hardly Wait. Remember the time when you
So it's I think it's a subtle thing,
Yeah.
to do something like that, and you don't want to be the person that's like, "So Aaron, how's your day? You having a good day, Aaron? Aaron, I was thinking, Aaron, about doing a podcast with me and you, Aaron. You ever talk to somebody like that?"
I know that guy.
It's
hold on. You know that guy too. Just say it.
But it's like, I know what you're doing, bro. I know what you're doing. Stop it. That's a way to lose respect immediately, or to at least categorize yourself as a salesman.
Mhm.
Whether that's what you want or not, but that's another way to
Yes.
to abuse this
Say
Jedi
X
master.
person's name 6 times in conversation.
Yeah, you think you're being a Jedi master there, but you're really not.
Yeah, you're not
You're
listening.
a fucking clown.
You're not actively listening.
You're a clown. You just look like a clown
Mhm.
when you do that.
Yeah. That's God. I'm not gonna give some examples because this is why I have to go back to high school, because I'm like, who am I gonna offend that knows me right now?
Yeah.
And who might anyway. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You got anything on that one? Extra?
No, that's it.
Yeah, good.
Jeez, listen to me.
All right. The confident handshake.
Are we-
And he has masterclass. I don't know what that means, but confident handshake. That is one where you'll lose me pretty quick.
Wait. Is this a thing? This is the thing you stopped doing? Wait.
No, how to make people respect you. Have a
Okay.
confident handshake.
Have a confident handshake. Okay. So
You can,
as
like-
opposed to dead fish or
Yeah, sure. That's one. But you can go in too hard.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can hey, you can't crush someone. Like immediately, not to make it political, but the Donald Trump handshake. Have you ever seen that?
No.
You haven't seen that?
No, I don't.
You got to look it up.
Okay.
You got to look it up. Like politics aside, it's funny because he
Yeah.
has this thing where he grabs you and pulls you in
No.
over and over. and I forget who it was he shook hands with. It was, I want to say it was the prime minister of France or something, where they were they're basically having a tug of war thing.
You come over here.
It's weird,
You get in my space.
It's just weird, over the top, dominant, I'm trying to dominate you handshake thing. That's the Trump 101 business 101 things.
Gotcha. Okay.
But you can go too far.
Yeah.
Again, respect is the harder you try for it, the more clown-like you get, I think.
Yeah.
You can go too far. But then you can miss entirely.
Yeah.
And the one that burns me up is when you go for the shake or the pound. And you're like, which one? And then the other guy goes the opposite too, and you're just like, fuck it. We're going high five.
I hadn't seen my neighbor for they were gone for 2 years, and then I was gone for 6 weeks, and I came back, and he and his wife are dance professors at USC, and they have their own dance company and everything. And so with my daughter,
Yeah. I get it.
doing it full time, we've got a tighter connection. Plus, they're my next door neighbor,
Yeah.
and I I went for the pound handshake and he hugged. I'm like,
Ooh,
yeah,
I
well,
didn't even think about the hug.
no,
That's a
yeah,
whole-
exactly. But
that's a whole different
like,
level
dude,
of confusion.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, because we've gotten to that point to where like,
Yeah.
like even your best friends are the ones that you probably don't see as often as
Right,
you
right.
want or
Yeah,
need
give them
to,
one
and
shoulder.
but when you see them,
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
still there.
Yeah.
And so I guess we're kind of like that. And so, but I was like, I hadn't seen him in a while, and I was like,
You ever go to do the handshake, mess up, do the pound, and then the other person goes no when they shake your hand?
I've done this. You
No, I
can't.
had this one guy like when to shake his hand, he's like pound, shake, pound, and I was like pound, and he's like no,
No,
shake.
shake.
And he's like "Rrr." And I'm like, Jesus, caveman, like okay, we'll shake.
Sometimes that's based on age as well.
He's
Yeah,
like, I gotta do it.
I know.
What's that
I
one
know.
video? I want to shake your hand. I want to shake your hand.
I've got a friend that man, I love Phil. The first time he shook my hand, this man, he's
To break some
oh
tarsals.
God. But it's like it's not
You ever accidentally?
his isn't a dominant. He's
It's
not
just
trying to dominate. It's like he's just
a-
genuinely one of the nicest fucking human beings
Just a
I've ever
gorilla.
met. Yeah, and no, he's not even a
No?
gorilla. He's like, I know. He's just like rock solid dude, and he's
Yeah.
probably like 10 years older than us.
Yeah.
And just when he's shaking, he's like, "Hey, man," and I'm like, "Holy shit, that hurts." But I have thought about
Yeah.
that. Like, is this the the dominant thing? And
He's just-
no, he's just like that's who he is, and he's
You ever
and
shake anybody's hand and you accidentally like hurt them because they got a hurt hand?
that is what Phil did to me.
Okay. I don't like that one. You're like, oh,
Oh, damn.
but the point is, pay attention.
The fuck are we talking about?
That is a very overlooked, and you sort of take it for granted interaction with a person that just pay a little attention and like make sure you get it right. Like,
Yeah.
just give it a second.
Yeah.
Don't rush it. How you doing?
Oh God.
Boom. Like this.
There's some type of bad joke here. that
Practice
I'm
it.
trying not to go
But
to.
practice.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Take your time. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just firm, not too firm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
not
too long. But there's more.
All right.
Go ahead.
Dump the negativity.
Yeah.
There's nothing that makes me respect someone less than their goddamn grimace. For all you
Dang.
youngsters, grimace is the giant purple thing from McDonald's. But like, you're just always like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, this sucks. That sucks. Everything sucks. That sucks.
You know which one gets me?
What's that?
It's not the grimace. Was the grimace that goes along with, "How are you? I'm tired."
Oh, God. We're bitching now. We're being negative. But
That's what we're like.
friggin'
I can't say
double
it.
friggin'.
I don't care who it is.
I hate that one.
You tell me you're tired.
I hate that one.
And listen, like
a lot.
like I don't. Well,
First off, I don't care.
right.
Secondly, I'm fucking tired too.
At Publix yesterday.
Everybody's fucking tired.
Yeah, I was joking with the cashier because we kind of known each other for like a year or so, and joked
Yeah.
around about something that happened the first. Like, I brought 20 items and I was only supposed to have 10, and she was like, "It's okay. You seem like you're really having a bad day, and so ever since
different.
that, like we've just but then yesterday, like we joked about that again, and then I said, "How's your day going?" She goes, "Good. Can't complain." And I said, "Because I wouldn't care anyway."
Yeah.
And she just looks at me, and I'm like, I'm joking, right? And but yeah,
I'm glad you brought that up. I really don't like that one.
It doesn't like I'm tired too.
Everybody's tired, bro.
Yeah.
Like we're all suffering.
Yeah.
It's called being a human.
Yeah.
Like, dude, yeah.
And-
I don't like that one.
And as soon as
Hard.
your opening is I'm tired.
Well, it lets me know your disposition.
Okay.
And it lets me know that I don't want to have anything further to do with you because you probably have a sour disposition in the way you look at. Like, if the world is tiring you out, like, I mean, the likelihood of you having a real story that involves you having to have 4 jobs and, you know, a mother that you have to take care of and,
Yeah.
you know, the kid that you have to serve every day. Like, it's just like probably not true. Because there are people with that situation.
Sure.
And they're usually pretty fucking positive.
Yeah.
Which is scary, but it's usually the case.
Right. Because they kind of have to be
Yeah.
in order to deal with it.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that I don't like that one at all. I don't like it.
And that's the negativity that, and
That's the underlying, I'm not aware of it. It's just kind of who I am negativity.
I got called out when I was in New York by 2 of my coworkers about something.
Ooh, did you fight him?
Yes.
Oh.
But that's not important right
Okay.
now. We're at dinner and I was complaining about something.
Mm.
And it's something that I've complained about before. And it's something that really, really it upsets me.
Yeah.
It upsets me enough to where it's like,
Get going.
do I want to be here anymore?
Yeah.
And so they confronted me about it and they're like, if you continue to let that one thing.
Yeah. Well.
And I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we do.
We just started hearing about it.
But you could look at it this way and you could look at it this way. And, I mean, both of them are 6 or 8 years older than me. They've both had, different world experiences. And, the fact that they were both saying it at the same time, it finally hit me.
Yeah. You're like, oof.
And
maybe it is me.
Ever since that point, this one thing that's been getting me for a year and a fucking half that has just really just made, my work life shitty for the past year and a half. I'm like, well, I really enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
I used to.
Right.
I really enjoy what I do. And if I stop having the negativity towards that thing and, deal with it differently, it doesn't change the thing.
Right.
But it changes my response.
Yeah.
And then, when we come into another situation, we're having dinner and I'm not complaining about that thing, then,
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I don't have to complain about that thing anymore. Right. Like it's still a pain in the ass, but
yeah, sure.
But I've learned how to mitigate and manage that thing so that it's like it's and now that I've done that, it's like things just
feel better.
Oh God, so
that's
much
cool.
easier.
That's good.
Yeah, and then I can just, instead of being angry all the time, like I can actually focus on things I need to.
Yeah.
When that thing comes up again, I'm like, okay,
well, yeah,
I'll deal with it here.
I'll not enjoy this. Yeah,
I won't enjoy it, but I'll deal with it, but I deal with it in a different. I'll deal with it with more of a smile on my face, so that the negativity isn't there and there's less.
Yeah.
It was my version of walking into every conversation of I'm tired.
Yeah.
And still not perfect with it, but I'm a lot more productive after I got that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it took somebody telling me.
Sometimes it does.
Like, you're an asshole. Deal with your.
I tried to tell you.
No. I know. No,
ago.
that's true. But it's, you're an asshole. Deal with yourself first and how you respond to something.
Well, yeah.
Which is my advice to other people that I don't always take.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's a good one.
So
in our martial arts practice, we have a guiding principle. It's first know yourself, then know others.
Right.
And that's pretty solid advice.
First know yourself, and then
150 years ago.
And kill others.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, have a plan to kill everyone. Be nice. No, be polite, not nice, and have a plan to kill everyone in the room.
Exactly.
Okay.
I like that one.
Is that General Mattis?
Yeah.
All right. Own your expertise, but ditch the Encyclopedia Act.
Is that the fake it till you make it still?
No, I think it's different. I think it's that you actually aren't faking it. You know your shit and you rub it in everyone's face. And you're trying to use that fact that you are really good at what you do to earn everyone's respect.
Oh, well, that's the dickhead engineer.
That's the go hard.
That's the dickhead developer engineer who makes everybody feel like shit because they know everything.
Yeah. You think you are trying to, you think you're getting the respect, but you're really just getting they're waiting for you to leave the room. then they're going to avoid you.
Yeah.
So maybe that's your goal. If that's your goal, employ this tactic, I think. Which
So
I think
true.
is probably most developers' goal is to like not deal with people. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I've encountered people like that before. And it's the, well, actually person, you know,
Yeah.
like, really?
Yeah.
There's so many other ways you could have introduced me to the correct way of thinking.
This is true. This is why I've said before, you
there's-
should be able to punch somebody not in the face necessarily, because I got in trouble for saying that once, but maybe in the balls.
Well, so there is a level of respect that you should employ whenever you are explaining to someone that something isn't right.
Yeah.
If they're doing something wrong or doing it the wrong way, or you want them to do it a different way, you can't just like roll up in there and be like, this is the correct way.
Mhm.
I mean, if you're Spock, you can do that.
Yeah.
You know, but like even people hated Spock. They're like, Spock's a dick.
Yeah.
Um,
But he's right. But he's still a dick.
yeah.
Yeah.
You get the in respect because you are right, but they ain't gonna like you.
Yeah.
They're not gonna really go out of their way to do anything for you. You know.
Yeah. I worked with a guy for 10 years, and I think I was working there on the side when I was working with you, maybe. But it was then installing computer systems and things like that.
I remember. Yeah.
And there'd be times to where he'd have me go out and I'd have to deal with somebody that I was like, why the fuck do you make me deal with them?
Right.
And he goes, listen, if I told them the same thing you just told them the way that I tell it to them, I will no longer have them as a client.
Right. So I'm sending you.
Right. I'm sending you. And the way, and he's like, and he said this multiple times over 10 years. He's like, you have a way of dealing with people that, don't understand what you need them to understand, or not even like, the technicality of it. It's, I need them to understand the value of what is happening. And he says, I can't do that.
Right.
Because he's the developer type and everything.
Yeah.
And
at least he's self-aware enough. I mean,
right.
That's a huge first step.
Yeah. And, and I will say that, some of that came from, let's tell old stories now. You remember there was one client. Oh, I think it was, it may or may not have been a gas station we did a website for.
Okay.
Or something like that.
I've done a few gas station websites.
Yeah. So good. We're not telling,
I don't mind, but
yeah, but you, there was one time you pulled me aside and you're like, I thought you were a fucking actor. And I go, what?
I remember that.
Yeah. And you
I
go,
was like, act nice.
yeah, can you act like you don't hate their guts? I was like, oh.
Yeah, I was like, employ those acting skills.
Yeah.
We don't like them either, but
Yeah.
you're the one that's doing this.
Exactly. And so I will say that I took that one point. Obviously, it still stuck with me. And now I think it's funny in a way, but you're right.
I remember that.
That I took that and I'm like,
I don't remember who the client was either.
oh,
though.
I do.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably because you were dealing with them and I wasn't.
Exactly. That was the thing.
Thank you.
I was, yes, you're welcome. I was the one that's supposed to deal with the clients.
Yeah.
And but I took that particular moment and then I brought it into a lot of the things I've done ever since then, which is like trying to have respect and empathy for somebody when they're talking, because guess what? Like I said, with going in and I'm paying you money, server, I have a certain expectation. Well, guess what? They were clients of ours. They were paying us money to do work for them.
Yeah.
And I was looking at them like, you're a fucking idiot.
That's an exercise I go through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every day. Because somebody will, and you're like, how dare you ask me something so low level and stupid? And I don't have time to answer your dumbass question. And then I realize, wait, that's
why they're paying me.
What in the hell is wrong with me?
Yeah.
Like, that's me. I'm fucking weird. Like, that is not a response that you should have. Like, dude, check yourself.
No.
And I always think of Aaron Droplin.
Mm-hmm.
And he would, I forget, it was like one of the early on times we met him and he was doing the talk and he was like, look, man, I've dug ditches before. I could be digging ditches, but instead I'm working in Illustrator.
Yeah.
I'm like, you gotta put some of your shit in perspective sometimes. It's like, I'm like, you're paying me to answer you a question about Google.
Mm-hmm.
I probably shouldn't complain about that.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real here.
Mhm.
I could be driving a truck from here to Arkansas, you
Mhm.
know, like instead I'm sitting here in this air conditioned thing, drinking my coffee, just writing an email about Google. Like, it ain't that hard, dude.
Yeah.
Like, this is, you're pretty lucky.
Yeah. That's
And I run through that little
Yep.
scenario and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a pretty cool job. You know, I get emails at least once a week from somebody like begging for a job, you know, and I don't have one to give them, but I'm like, there are people in the world that want this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how dare you send me an email?
Mhm. Yeah.
That is just like the opposite of everything we're talking about. I mean, it doesn't leave my head.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't say that to the person,
I don't say the words that are in
Yeah,
my brain.
but I like it happens and I run that filter and I go, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, take another sip of coffee and write a normal email.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, that's why I tell you that.
we are not our thoughts, people.
Yes, you are.
I don't think so.
Well,
We're gonna have a different conversation
no,
now.
this is,
I don't think we are
we
our
are-
thoughts, because if that's the case, I would probably be a murderer
Mhm.
several times over.
Yeah, I'd be.
I would have no clients. Like,
be a psychopath.
yeah, I mean, I think it's okay to have the thoughts. We shouldn't. This is you can disagree, but I don't think we should punish ourselves for having the thoughts.
It's the action.
The problem is when you act on those thoughts.
Yes.
Is the difference between having a thought and being a
Well,
psychopath.
yeah, that's the
sociopath.
difference of of
Um,
being a human versus
yeah.
non.
I mean, and that's just. I mean, it just is. You have thoughts. I mean, you can't berate. I think some people get stuck in that. They get stuck in berating themselves over what they're thinking about, and then they just have guilt over it and stuff. And I think that's a lot of people's problems.
Mhm.
When you should just be like, think it and then chill the fuck out.
Should I murder that person? I really want to.
No,
murder
you
that
probably
person.
shouldn't.
You probably
Yeah.
shouldn't. However, do they deserve it?
Just
Maybe.
don't let just don't let your
Maybe.
daydreaming get carried away.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, we can't all be Dexter. No, and this is why when I tell you that being in the army and being in the infantry was the best and worst time of my life, and
I'm sure you're around some sociopaths in the army.
yes, and they're in jail or they have medals.
Okay.
Depends
on the scenario. I
Depends
guess.
on the scenario. And right tool for right place. But it was the worst time because it was the most isolated.
Yeah.
I think I'd ever felt at that point in my life.
Right.
It was the best time, and sometimes I think about it when I say that, like, it's not the best time because I had the best time, because I did. I had a great time with my friends and everything that I've had for life. It's the best time because it was the time where I figured out this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And how do I do things differently so that I do not end up in this place again? And not that it was, again, not that it was all bad, but
sure.
But that I'd come to a point where that was not for me. Plus broken back did not help for the situation either.
Way to figure that
right.
out.
But how do I not get back into a position to where I feel like that was my only path?
Yeah.
And so that's why it was the best time in my life. So, when you go back to the, I call it privileged at this point. I feel pretty privileged at this point to be able to go through, a lot of shit in my childhood, a lot of shit, as an adult, and, come to a place to where, I feel like I've worked to where I am.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm where I want to be every day, but I am in a better place than, 80% of people.
Well, I've watched you put in intentional work over the past few years. I mean, I've seen it, and it's to be commended. I think there's a lot of people that don't bother, and they just kind of bumble through life. Not bumble, but just kind of slide through life, and I mean, you can do that too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I don't choose to do that, but I mean, you can choose to do that.
I think maybe that's not to get totally way off course, but I think part of that has to do with, I don't know what happens after this.
Right.
And
well, as you get closer to it, you begin to think about it.
True. But even
I just did an hour with Scott.
Oh, Scott.
About regrets later in life, and just kind of uncovering some of his thoughts as a,
sure,
as an aging human, and it was very enlightening.
I bet I'd like to listen to that.
Yeah.
You should plug that.
Oh.
But since I do not know, and and again, you know how I feel about religion and everything else. Like, I don't care, whatever
Sure.
gets whatever gets
Oh, I
you
get
through
where
the
you're
day,
going. I get
whatever
where
gets you through the day.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, I don't know what happens after this,
Yep.
so
Yep.
I might as well take advantage of that fact and continue to push towards the things that I would like to have in
Yeah.
this life,
Yeah.
and be a good human. Don't fuck over other people when I can help it, and
That's Scott's disposition.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Just a younger Scott.
You know,
Scary.
you were talking about feeling isolated,
Uh-huh.
and I'm looking at your shirt saying Brooklyn and thinking about the New York conversation we just had.
Uh-huh.
I've spent weekends alone in the woods,
Mhm.
I spent 7 days in the woods with just me and one other person. I think the loneliest I've ever felt was in New York. From like, we got up Sunday before I was going to come home, and wasn't leaving until like noon or something. And so I got up early, and I was like, all right, I'm sort of left to my own devices until I go home.
Sure.
I'm just going to go for a walk. And I just started walking, and I walked for like, an hour and a half or whatever. And I was like, man, I'm surrounded by people, but I am fucking alone, and it like struck me how I'd never thought about that before. And I was like experiencing that. And I sat down and was just sort of taking that in, and how, and it's like 10,000 people around me.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just by myself. If I needed anything, I'd have to call someone who's not in the state.
Yep.
I mean, there were, you know what I mean?
No, I know.
Like, it'd be like this weird scenario of like, if I wanted to talk to somebody, I'd be calling someone in South Carolina, or, wherever they are, and not like 2 feet away.
Right. No.
And it struck me how, it just, I don't know. It has nothing to do with this conversation, but it just struck me as like, wow, this is isolation.
Yeah. The most isolated after the Army, and probably still more so, that I ever felt was when Melanie and I moved to Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And we had each other, and we
Yeah.
had friends and everything, and she had work, I had school. It was the most isolated I'd ever felt in my life.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. And in a in Sydney, and there are plenty of people there, plenty to do, and just like just like, I still, the nightmares that I have, besides going back to high school when it's the end of the year, and I have to take finals, and I have not taken
class.
no, I haven't been there for the entire year. Besides those,
I've had that same.
yeah. But the other nightmares I had for years were that I was back in Australia for had to go back for something for school, for my master's, and that everywhere I lived, that the ceiling was like 5 feet tall.
That's
And
weird.
so
What is
just
that?
like that, you felt so claustrophobic
Wow.
and isolated from
Sure,
everything, even
okay.
though everybody was there.
Wow.
And so yeah,
Yeah.
that's so again, I feel much better now.
Wow. Huh. All right.
Yeah.
Sidebar done. All right. The last one. And this is a pet peeve of mine when I speak to people. Stand tall, speak clear, ditch the mumbles. Yeah, that's a rough one. When you're communicating with someone and they're like, what the hell? Like,
okay, start with your kids,
it's like
because I'll start with my kids.
It's like they're scared of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what did you say? Word, human word, English?
Yeah.
What?
Dude, I had I'm not bragging on my kids, but like one of my oldest buddies or something he's got a buddy, and then they got a buddy, and they came over to the gym. They were going to do a class, and one showed up before the other, and they didn't know, anybody really. And he just walks in. And he's like, I was like, hey, and he's like staring at me, and I walk right up to him, and I'm like, hey, how can I help you? And he's like, I'm here to meet someone. And I'm like, who would you be here to meet? And they're like, hold on. And he's like, pulls his phone out, and he starts like texting his friend. And I'm like, and I'm looking at him, just like, who are you here to meet? And he's like, I'm sorry. And he left. He's like, turned around and walked out. And you know, my oldest walks up. He's like, who was that? I was like, well, I think that's one of your buddy's buddy or whatever. And he's like, oh. He's like, well, on behalf of my generation, I'm sorry. We don't know how to talk to people. And I was like, dude, go get him. Go get him in the parking lot. Tell him to come back in here. And he went out and got him, brought him back in. But I was like, I'm not pooping on
no, it's
Gen Z or whatever, but like, yeah, you want to lose respect from people, like be confused. Like just talk to people.
Yeah.
Don't be scared of everyone. Like it's okay to have a conversation, you know?
my son is now a server.
Which, you know, I never did that myself
Mhm.
as a youth. I mean, I had other jobs that had me. I mean, I worked in a retail store.
Yeah.
I ran a register. Like,
Yeah.
holy shit. But I think everyone should have a job like a server or retail of some kind.
Customer facing.
Where you're dealing with
Yeah.
humans on a small purchase level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not like a I'm buying shit for $50,000
Right.
level. I mean, like I'm buying shit for $1.25 level.
Well, and like I was totally against him taking a server job.
Mm.
Like he's going into cybersecurity. You know, like why are you taking?
But the interpersonal communication skills are going to be invaluable.
Dude, remember two things that I've done. Like one is I've jumped out of airplanes with a gun, and you know, and
well, you can do that.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing I don't want him to do.
Well, I wouldn't want mine to do that.
Yeah, but two, you know, like I've owned restaurants and I've been a server, and
yeah,
and so, and you know, I had, you know, at one restaurant that I worked at, like the managers who were there, they're like they're working 60 hours a week and they're making a shit ton of money, and the only thing that they have their money to spend on is cocaine. That was it.
Yeah,
and you know, and there's other stories as well. I get it. But what I was concerned with him, and the talk that I finally had with him was, you know, like, just note that, you know, you're going to school for a purpose.
Yeah.
You know, this should be your secondary thing. It should help you and everything. But
right.
you know, and
this ain't your career.
Right. But that same dude that I used to work for that I said, you know, would have me talk to his clients. You know, we were talking about it, and his daughters are up at Clemson. And he was saying that, yeah, you know, I was totally against one of them working in a restaurant. And then he's like, you know, she made a lot of money at that restaurant. So that's one thing. This is on like Hartwell or whatever. But he said that wasn't the important thing. The important thing was she learned how to, when everybody's stuck in their phones now.
Yeah.
You know, she learned how to actually talk to people.
Yeah.
And interact with them and have interpersonal skills that should help her wherever she goes in life.
It will.
Once he said that to me, I was like, okay,
it's a good,
fine. You know, as long as
might actually be better education than college.
Sometimes.
At the end of it all.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. And so, you know, because it's hard. It's hard to talk to people sometimes.
Well, yeah. Sometimes you just don't want to.
Right.
You're like, I'm tired. I don't want to talk to you.
Right. But guess what?
You might have to.
When he's a server, he has to show them respect.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, then
well,
guess what?
Get no tip.
You make $2.13 an hour.
Yeah. That's bad news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, I saw him the other day and he did not make $2.13 an hour. He did all right, you know, for a double or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, good.
Yeah.
You can make rent. I'm
You're
proud of
doing
you.
something,
Yeah, exactly. But it was because, you know, like he's learning that he, you know, you listen to people, you give them respect.
Yeah.
You know, you do the things that you're supposed to do. You don't have a bad attitude.
Right.
You know, you're not grumpy with them because what good does that do you?
You're not Eeyore.
Yeah. Yes. Fucking Eeyore. And, you know, and also like the servers that I had before, they were faking it till they make it, you know, back to all these points. Like, you know, those were the annoying fuckers that you're like, oh God, you know, can I have that person? You know,
Yeah.
and this should this should basically be how to be a server in a restaurant, and then take that mentality and bring it into what you do every single day, because really, like, those customer
That's what we're
facing
doing.
things, you
Yeah.
you
That's what we're
give
doing.
and you take respect.
Yep.
And when you don't,
It's basics.
is like, I used to think that everybody should spend, like, in Germany, you spend 2 years in the military, then you go to school for
I had
free.
the same conversation twice today with 2 different people.
Okay.
You're number 3.
Ooh,
It's really
that's
weird.
scary.
I mean, I happen to be doing podcasts today, but
Yeah, that's true.
that we think we've all thought that someone should at least serve,
Yeah.
like have a mandatory stint of time where you're in a public service
Yeah.
role.
Yes.
It can be military, it can be fucking
It could
garbage
be the
guy, whatever.
CCC
Whatever. I mean, just like
Conservation Corps. Yeah.
like something.
Yeah.
And it needs to be equitable, but like something.
All right. And that's why, like, the school that my daughter goes to, like, they have to put in 20 measurable service hours
Wow.
per semester or per
Wow.
half year or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's actually a lot for
That's
a kid in school,
it's a lot of time.
who does other things.
Yeah.
But it's because they want to make sure that the one thing that caught me with that school when, like, my kids were really young, and we didn't send them there then, now we are now. There's just this one. They said, we're not trying to make, no, say it. We're not trying to make, little Christians.
Yeah.
We're trying to make good humans.
Yeah. Right.
That has always stuck with me.
Yeah.
Like, that we're trying to grow good humans.
Yeah.
And that is one way to do it. So, if you're not going to go and do, 3 years, 4 years in the military, if you're, not going to be a part of a service organization, go be a server somewhere for a year, part-time or something like that.
Right, for sure.
And, feel a little humility.
Yeah.
First of all. But then that leads you to a better way of respecting people. You will also, you'll see the best and worst of people,
I'm sure.
at a restaurant. And I still have those stories of people that I've dealt with.
Yeah.
But you will, I think that again, when it goes back to my ideal of respect, has to do with communication in a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
That those are situations, even in the military, those are situations that you learn how to respect other people. In the military, if you don't respect other people, guess what? You fucking get killed.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
there's a potential.
I get it.
Yeah, and so, and I've said it before, like, some of the people that, I had zero respect for because they were pieces of shit.
Yeah.
And proved it every single day. Then when they were in a combat situation,
oh yeah, you're not gonna like.
There's one dude that I'm like, why are you here, dude? This is like, you should have gone into something else. This
you're
is
in
wrong.
danger. Yeah.
And that kid back then, earned a Iron Cross or whatever because his Humvee got, blown up by an IED. IED? Is that right? Is that? Anyway,
it is IED.
Yeah, thanks. I was thinking of something. IUD.
Careful.
Totally different. But blown up by an IED. Yeah, and he was essentially blind. His passenger was dead, but all the other guys in the back of the Humvee had, like, were unconscious, and like, he came to, and he basically drove in reverse as fast as he could without being able to see.
Wow.
And like, saved 4 people's lives. That guy was a piece of fucking shit every single day, dude. Every single. I can still see him and go, oh my god, I hate his guts. And you know what?
Yeah.
Like, he performed where many people would not have, and so you have to respect that. You have to like you said, you respect other people because you never know when you're going to need them.
That's right. That's true. Wow. That's a good place to end.
Cool.
It was good, man.
Thanks.
Always good talking to you.
You too.